Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Charles Rokwara Wandimi, Assistant County Commissioner, Donora Division. I'm standing in on our Deputy County Commissioner. He is on the way coming. I want to introduce the Giro team. Please, ACC from Giro, Stomy from Giro Division. Our ACC, Luai was not able to be in. Chiefs, please, from Giro. That is Momanyi from Mihango. Chiefs from Modhondi, Kariobangi South. Peter Mburu, Dandora B. Ngare, Jeffrey Ngare, Dandora A. Thank you so much.
Good morning, all. I'm Stephen Kaloki, SCC1 Kasarani, representing the DCC. He's busy coordinating on the flag of the Safari Rally, so he won't be able to be with us. Kasarani team, SCC Kasarani, Grace Rita, SCC Roysambo, not with us, she's not well. SCC Gudurai, Joseph Mwangi, SCC Kariobanki, James Yagan. We have chiefs, please rise up. Babadogo, chief, say your name. Kwa sauti. Korogosho, you raise up and say your name. Kasarani, Kiura, Miriti from Wiki, Miriti, Kawa West, Githurai, Zimmerman, we have Ruaraka, Utali, Roysambo, thank you. That's our team.
Thank you so much for the good introductions. Now we get to appreciate Nairobi County from a different perspective, from the perspective of the representation, the DCCs, the ACCs, and the chiefs. Let's appreciate one another with a hand clap. I now want to take this opportunity to very fast introduce some of our guests, but because they'll be speaking to us later, I request that I don't know whether you prefer to introduce yourself, Daktari, but allow me to just introduce you so that we can move very fast, and also for purposes of exchanging the mic. So with us here this morning, others will be joining us. We have on my extreme left, Dr. John Akoten, the Deputy Director at Anti-Counterfeit Authority. Please just wave from where you are. You'll be speaking later. We have Dr. Esther Kemani, the CEO of PCPB, Pest Control and Products Board. She will be speaking to us later. Thank you. Let's appreciate Daktari. And we have Madam Rachel from NMS. Now we are familiar with NMS. Tunajua NMS ni nini? Tunaijua? We associate it with who? So she's here representing NMS. Madam Rachel, karibu sana. And on my extreme right, we have one who will be giving very few words to welcome you on board, and that is Madam Frida Kaberia, who is the acting executive director of the Anti-Counterfeit Authority. Madam Frida, just to welcome our guests this morning, and then Dr. John Akoten will join us on the stage to give the presentation.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Frida Kaberia. I'm the Acting Executive Director, Anti-Counterfeit Authority. We are very pleased to have you today here, and I'm honored to welcome you as we celebrate the World Anti-Counterfeit Day. And this is a great moment to be here with the Nairobi County and the Nairobi leadership. So without taking much time, I'll request Dr. Akoten to take up the rest of this session. Karibu, Dr. Akoten.
Let's appreciate our acting CEO, Madam Frida. Thank you so much, Madam Frida. Daktari, welcome to give the overview of counterfeiting and other forms of illicit trade.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam Frida Kaberia, the acting CEO of the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, Dr. Esther Kimani, the CEO of the Pest Control Products Board, Richo from the NMS, the DCCs, the ACCs, chiefs, colleagues, representative from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Mr. Joseph Wariuko, of course the members of the Fourth Estate. Good morning. Today, you've heard my name. I'm Dr. John Akoten, the Deputy Director for Research Awareness and Quality Assurance. Today we are celebrating the World Anti-Counterfeit Day, which was started sometime back in 1998 by the Global Anti-Counterfeit Group. So ACA has been leading the country in terms of commemorating this particular day, and especially when you're talking about issues of counterfeit, and now we are even expanding it now to illicit trade. So in the next few minutes, I'll be taking you through a very brief presentation on illicit trade, what illicit trade is, and later on we'll be having discussions also from other government agencies who will be able to talk about what they do in terms of fighting illicit trade, then how do we work together to fight this particular global menace. In my presentation, I'll briefly talk about ACA. For some of us, probably we may not know who ACA is, and then the forms of illicit trade, the interlinkages, how big the problem is, the various statutes that we rely upon when fighting illicit trade, the law enforcement agencies, and finally, I will conclude. Now, the Anti-Counterfeit Authority is a state corporation. It's not a private organization. It's a government agency which has been incorporated under the Anti-Counterfeit Act number 13 of 2008. It falls under the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development. I hope somebody will be able to switch off the lights in front here so that people can see the slides. Our mandate basically cuts across the supply side of counterfeiting as well as also the demand. Now we talk about issues of creating public awareness because we have to reduce the demand for illicit, for counterfeit goods, enforcement where we have inspectors who can enforce the provision of the Anti-Counterfeit Act. And then we have the capacity building, which is very, very critical because we need to build the capacity of other stakeholders in combating illicit counterfeit. Coordination is very, very important because later on we'll be able to see that counterfeits are cuts across the different government institutions. So you're talking about the Pest Control Products Board or the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, or you're talking about the Kenya Bureau of Standard. Counterfeiting is associated with other forms of illicit trade, and therefore coordination is very, very important. So one of our mandates is to coordinate with other government agencies, including also the county governments. And then policy advice is very, very important because we need also to advise the government on what measures we need to do to fight counterfeiting. And then, of course, research is very, very key because we need information, we need to make decisions based on sound information and facts. Now, what is illicit trade? Now, when you look at illicit trade, people sometimes confuse what illicit trade is. And basically, in simple terms, there's somebody called Moses Naim, and he said that illicit trade is a trade that infringes on the rules on the regulations, we're talking about laws, we're talking about embargoes, and so on. So when there's an exchange of goods, that's what we call trade. And if that trade is not done as per the government policies or lay down rules or laws, then we consider that one as illicit trade. I'll give you examples, of course, of illicit trade. For example, counterfeiting. Counterfeit goods is a form of illicit trade. Pirated goods are also forms of illicit trade, and I will expand on those types of goods. Then substandard goods. We have uncustomed goods. We have undervalued goods. We have restricted goods, and you can even expand that one even outside the goods category. For example, sale of human body parts. You understand that in some parts of the country, for example, even neighboring countries, people sell human body parts. Or you talk about human trafficking. I think human trafficking is something that all of you are aware of and comes across in your area of jurisdiction. Issues about trafficking of animal trophies, for example. Those are things that we call illicit trade. So all of them, they're actually infringing either a policy or a rule or a law. So they are forms of illicit trade. Counterfeiting is the infringement of intellectual property. So when you talk about counterfeiting, you're talking about an intellectual property right that has been infringed. For example, we had water, whatever it is, for example, like Aquamist. So if somebody is selling water and he calls it Aquamist, is infringing on the intellectual property of that particular company because that company produced Aquamist. Pirated goods, that is infringement of copyrighted work. For example, like movies or even books or songs, whatever it is. If you infringe on that, even what the media is also picking, and if you air it, for example, now they're airing it, and if you air it, then you're infringing on their copyrighted material. So that's what we call pirated goods. Then substandard goods are those ones that do not meet the minimum standard. So every country has a minimum standard for a particular product. If it's a mobile phone like what our lady is using, that mobile phone is supposed to have a certain minimum standard in terms of either taking pictures, in terms of voice, and so on. So there's a minimum standard that has been set. And if you don't meet those particular standards, then that product is regarded as substandard. And then uncustomed goods, those are goods that do not pass through the customs. Because when you're importing goods, they're supposed to through the customs. Or even when you're exporting, they're supposed to go through, again, the customs. So those are the smuggled goods, which are called uncustomed. And then the undervalued goods, you may have actually brought the goods through the customs territory, but now you undervalue it so that you pay less taxes. So that means that the government is losing some taxes. So those goods are also regarded as illicit goods. And then we have the concealed goods. You may have brought in some goods, but the others which you have concealed. For example, you bring in a vehicle, but inside the vehicle you have concealed probably guns or narcotics, whatever it is. So those concealed goods, they're also regarded as illicit goods. And then we have the contraband goods. These are goods which have been prohibited from being imported into the country. The dumped goods, these are goods, again, which have been dumped into a country. For example, they are being sold at a lower price than the country where it was imported from. And then the subsidized goods, these are goods which the government subsidize. So they lower the price, and then they export it, let's say, to a country like Kenya to bring unfair competition. So all these are forms of illicit trade. Now, maybe just to show you some pictures. Unfortunately, I don't know whether you're able to see it. On the left side, we have the fake medicine, which can, of course, affect your health. And then, of course, we have Roundup. This is herbicides. And then we have the fake food. If you take that, probably you might end up having a stomach problem. You can even die. And then, of course, we have Maclick there, which is a fake, animal feed. And then, of course, alcohol. I think you have come across fake alcohol, and it can also affect people. People can lose their eyes and so on. And then on the right now, we have the products with safety impact. For example, if there are electric cables that were counterfeit or even substandard, it can you might end up actually losing your house. So your house gets burned. Of course, we also have counterfeit car spare parts. You might end up even having, a puncture or even, an accident because of a counterfeit, spare parts, even brake parts and so on. So those are just examples of illicit goods. with the impact. Are they interrelated? Yes, they're interrelated. You could actually have a product that is a counterfeit and also a substandard. Or you can have a product that is counterfeit but not substandard, or a product that is substandard and not counterfeit. You can also have a product that is counterfeit, both counterfeit and substandard, and it's also smuggled. You know, you can have actually a variety of different types of goods. So when you talk about a particular product that's counterfeit, it could also be substandard, or it may not be counterfeit, but it's substandard. So there's actually interlinkages among the various forms of illicit trade. Then how big is the problem? Now, worldwide, if we look at illicit trade has increased more than 7 times than illegal trade. So we find that illicit trade is the one that is growing at a faster rate than illegal trade. Illegal trade is the trade that countries trade in, but they follow various laws. And it constitutes around 15 to 20% of the global GDP. And around 2014, it was around $12 trillion. Imagine $12 trillion worth of illicit goods, which was the size of China in that particular year. Then part of the illicit trade is what we call the counterfeit. So the counterfeit and paraded products in 2013, it was around $1 billion trillion. And it's estimated that by the year 2022, it will increase to between 1.9 trillion to 2.8 trillion dollars. So you can see that the value of counterfeit and paraded goods actually is increasing over time. And the same thing actually we were able to see it when we did our own study last year in Kenya. And we found out that in the year 2017, the size of illicit trade was 726 billion Kenya shillings, which increased to 826 billion Kenya shillings. So in one year alone, the value of illicit trade increased by 100 billion shillings. Now, if we look at EAC again, the tax revenue loss in 2008 was $500 million, which was around 50 billion Kenya shillings. And in Tanzania, the neighboring country, they were losing revenue of between 5 to 25%, which translates to around 540 to 900 billion Tanzanian shillings. So you can see that the size of illicit trade actually keeps on increasing. It's a very big problem which is eating into our economy. And if you look at the statistics for Kenya, it's almost surpassing the manufacturing sector's share in the GDP. Now, what are the statutes that fight the different forms of illicit trade? I mentioned we have the Animal Diseases Act. For example, the Animal Diseases Act control issues of substandard and even the restricted goods. And then we have the Anti-Counterfeit Act that deals with counterfeit and pirated products. We have the Competition Act, which deals with issues of substandard. The Consumer Protection Act, substandard and so on. So we have quite a number of them. Copyright Act. We have the East African Community Customs Management Act. We have the Excise Duty Act, the Food, Drug and Chemical Substances Act, which cuts across the different forms of illicit trade, the Kenya Film Commission Order of 2015, the National Police Act, which cuts across all of them. We have the Pest Control Products Act, the CEO is here, cuts across